right, folks, so y'all see that I'm rocking the Tennessee State University shirt. You see, of course, this is our HBCU segment. So here's the deal. Look, I was at Texas A&M University. I'm a graduate. My brother is, so is my sister. But we understand the importance of HBCUs. And so there are many African Americans who support HBCUs who didn't even go to them. We did remember the project that we did in... we aired it in December. We shot it in November in Houston with McDonald's, tied to the gospel tour. So we went to Houston. If you want to see those interviews, go to the Black Star Network app or our YouTube channel. All the interviews are on there. There was some amazing interviews. So I was talking with the folks at McDonald's, and we were discussing, they were talking about, support of HBCUs, and they said, hey, we want to do something with you, Roland. And I said, okay, great. And they said, this is the 115th anniversary of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, with December 4th, founded December 4th, 1906. And they said, we want to do something to honor them. And I said, well, why don't we do this here? So why don't we do something unique? Let's honor our 7 jewels, the 7 founders of Alpha Phi Alpha. And let's give away scholarships. So they wanted to give away robust scholarships. So I said, hey, let's do 7. And they said that, I said, but I don't want to make it just for alphas. I said, because, and here's why. Because I wanted us to be able to get a sense of, again, what the need is. And let me explain that. One of the biggest issues, and Greg can attest to this very much so, one of the greatest issues for college students, but especially HBCU students, is not them going to college. Is them being able to stay there. Because typically most universities, especially HBCUs, there's a dramatic drop-off from when students are freshmen and sophomores and when they become juniors and seniors because they don't have the money to stay. So here's what we did by partnering working with Alpha Phi Alpha, where I'm a life member. In honor of Alpha Phi Alpha, McDonald's is going to do 7 $15,000 scholarships specifically for HBCU juniors and seniors. Anytime we talk about scholarship money, typically it's for somebody coming out of high school. I specifically said to McDonald's, no, let's do this for the people who are already in college, but to keep them in college. I remember when Julia Malveaux was president of Bennett College, and she reached out to me. They were trying to raise like $30,000 to keep several of the young women in school who were graduating seniors. And it happened several times, and I've gotten other calls as well. So I said, hey, let's do this. And so partnering with the Thurgood Marshall Fund, you have this program. Again, any student who's a junior or a senior who's attending an HBCU is eligible for this program. Now, the deadline, listen clearly, the deadline is February 28th, okay? February 28th. Again, junior or senior. Now, that means that if you are going to be a junior in the fall, you can apply for the scholarship. If you're going to be a senior in the fall, you can apply for a scholarship. If you're a senior now and you ain't graduating and you're coming back next year, you can apply as well. So again, so what you do is you go to tmcf.org, tmcf.org. That's the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. They're handling everything. They're doing all this sort of stuff along those lines. And also, here's the other thing. And again, y'all know how I feel about this here. The recipients also is going to be able to engage with McDonald's executives about career opportunities in their field of study, things along those lines. And so, because I just want us to understand, a lot of people, and you bring the panel up right now, a lot of people simply don't have the resources to stay. And that's important. And so that's why we did it this way. And so, again, I know there were some alphas who probably like, man, come on, bro, why don't you just make it for the alphas? No, because here's the piece. If all of a sudden we discover that we get 800 or 1,000 applications, then we now know what the need is. And so now we can go back to McDonald's and say, okay, we did 7 this year. We did 7 this year. Hey, now let's do 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, because now you know what the need is. And so that was the rationale behind it. And so that's what we're doing there. I'm going to go to Greg. Greg, I'm telling you, people don't understand it. And look, you get it when those students, they're there, they don't come back because they don't have the money to come back.
That's the truth, Roland. I mean, I can speak from personal experience. The tuition was a lot lower when I started Tennessee State in 1983, but I worked my way through college. And I busted my ass those first couple of years to get the kind of grades to begin to piece together scholarships. And then when I got involved in student government, I got a student leadership scholarship. With my academic scholarship, it was enough. So I left with no debt and went on to law school with no debt. I had full scholarship to law school. That means everything. It's almost 50-50 public-private HBCUs in the United States, and 70% of the students who are at HBCUs are Pell Grant eligible. $15,000, and that price point, brother, is a stroke of genius. That's enough. At a private school like Spelman or Howard, that's enough to put a dent in it and get you close, particularly if you're a junior or senior. And at a public school, I mean, the average tuition and fees, we're talking about what? We're talking about maybe $14,000 for out of state and maybe around $7,000 for in-state tuition and fees. At a place like Norfolk State, it's going to cost you about $9,600 for a year tuition and fees. $15,000 when you're a junior or a senior. You know what that does finally? It reduces the 4, 5, 6-year graduation rate. You're absolutely right. Students aren't finishing, and it isn't because of their grades. It's because they don't have the money. And it's somebody who worked their way through school, working at fast food, Arby's and Wendy's and places like that. McDonald's can afford to do 700 or 7,000, and $15,000 could be the difference between a college degree and continuing to move and say, damn, if I just had a little bit more. That's the perfect price point, brother, in my opinion.
This is also why, Reese, I mean, over the years, I've talked about this a lot when we talk about scholarships. And most scholarships that they give typically are for high school students to go to 4-year institutions. I have been encouraging people to change the criteria for scholarships to also qualify for 2-year institutions, community colleges, because again, if someone, that's still college. And I get the focus on 4-year institutions, but it typically leaves out a lot of people who can't afford to go to a 4-year school, but they would love to be able to have a scholarship to go to a community college. And so, again, it's just thinking about how we provide scholarships in a different way. So I appreciate McDonald's agreeing with that because, again, we could have easily said, hey, graduating high school senior, but that does nothing for that kid who's already in college but can't stay.
That's right.
Yeah, also we have to think about, the amount of support that Black students in particular have going to college. You have a lot of parents, middle-class parents who might be able to get you through the first year, maybe even the second year. But by the time you hit 22, 23, that help has run out. Maybe people have had a kid or gotten pregnant or, had other things in life that might have set them a little bit off the path to where $15,000 could really make a huge transformative impact in their ability to continue their education. So this is something that really does meet a gap in the need by focusing on a population that typically you don't start to get eligibility at that point. You have to really get in. Maybe if you're a freshman, you get a 4-year scholarship or a 2-year scholarship, but not a lot of people are meeting that need. So I think it's a wonderful move that you push for and that McDonald's is providing.
And it doesn't mean, Faraji, that we don't encourage corporations that get a lot of our money as consumers not to support those folks who graduated from high school, but it's also thinking differently. And again, what I really hope, a bunch of our students apply. And again, that was one of the data points. That was one of the data points that I said to the alphas. I said, look, brothers, I know y'all may want this to only go to alphas. I said, but no, we need to have the data. If all of a sudden we have 700 students who apply for these 7 scholarships, now we're able to understand in terms of moving forward. Now, all of a sudden, it may not just be, okay, sure, can McDonald's fund all 700? Sure. But what if we also now have that data to be able to say, all right, let's go to 9 other corporations and say, all right, each one of you do 10 each, or each one of you do 50 each, to be able to provide these sort of resources. I'm telling people all the time, if you don't have the data, all you're doing is just guessing.
No, you're absolutely right, Brother Roland. And I think that's the data, and that's what Dr. Carr and Reese are talking about. I mean, we all know it. I'm a product of community college. When I decided, it took me 5 years after I left high school to decide to go back to school. And then my first step was toward Baltimore City Community College. Then from there, I went to a 4-year university to complete that part of my education. But it's necessary. I'm always telling students, make sure that you don't, you exhaust every option. Community college is not something you should be ashamed of. Going to an HBCU is not something you should be ashamed of. But more importantly, look, these companies that you're working with, and I'm glad McDonald's is on board with this initiative, they should be on board, like a lot of other companies, because why? You're cultivating your next generation of innovators and thinkers. Every time you work at McDonald's, I always tell people this, you might say, oh, working at McDonald's is so terrible. But McDonald's has a very rigid management program. They have a very rigid franchise ownership program. I mean, all of those things. And so when we're talking about investing, these companies should invest in Black students. They should invest into the future of Black students each and every day. And look, what we hope is that once we get this first batch of students involved in this, getting those scholarships, let's just work. We'll come right back to it and get another batch of students. This thing has to keep going. But it's a real blessing because why? You're behind it. And by you being behind it, you know that it's going to be an authentic program. It's not going to just, the money is not going to just sit somewhere. It's going to be given to somebody. And I just can't wait to see the students or hear about the students that are going to be the recipients of this. But this is more than any $15,000 shit, man. I wish I had that when I was in school. I'm telling you, I'll be all good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But, I mean, every little bit helps. And you know what? Maybe this will start the process real quick. Maybe this will start the conversation that college is absolutely terribly high.
Oh, it's crazy.
It becomes a crazy debt.
Yeah.
When you're paying $50,000 and $60,000 a year for college.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And can I say one more thing, Roland? I just want to say, sometimes people hear the number and they say, well, 7, I don't have a chance of getting that. Apply anyway, because as Roland is saying, your applying might open the door for the next round of people. And so it's important that regardless of whatever calculation you're doing in your mind about your GPA or whatever the materials are, that is going to be the rubric for deciding who gets it, still apply, because it's important to open up the doors for more than just yourself, and you might get it.
Yep, absolutely.
You might get it.
Absolutely. So, as they say, the easiest way not to get any money is if you don't apply. Just like we say, hell, if you don't vote, guess what? You got no say so in democracy. Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?